All right, so the next worksheet today is all about slope. So remember slope, another word for it is rate. So anytime they ask you for rate or rate of change, they're just asking you for slope in a nutshell. And hopefully you've got your reference sheet sitting right next to you as you're taking the test. And anytime they ask you for slope, if you're not sure what to do, look at your reference sheet and it says slope of a line, m equals y minus y over x minus x. Hopefully that jogs your memory, and if they give you 2 points, you can plug in the 2 y numbers and plug in the 2 x numbers of those points and then just do that math, right, in the calculator. Now this y minus y means you're taking the change in y. How far apart are those 2 y numbers? If you subtract them, that's the difference or change in your y's. And then, of course, when you subtract these, that's the change in your x's. So another way that they say this besides rise over run is it's the change in y over the change in x. All right. Parallel lines, of course, have the same slope. M is your slope. Also on the reference sheet, just to remind you, they tell you y equals mx plus b. So hopefully when you see this on there, you remember that m is your slope and b is the y-intercept. So when it's in this format, you can see the slope number right there. Again, back to our parallel lines, they have the same slope. They have the exact same steepness. And so if I know the slope of one is 3/4, I know this one is also 3/4. So when I see the word parallel, I write same. Perpendicular lines, on the other hand, intersect at 90 degrees. If one is positive, the other one's going to be negative. So they're going to have opposite signs, and they flip. So if this one's a positive 2/3, the perpendicular slope will be a negative 3/2. This little upside down T is a shorthand note for the word perpendicular. It means these two things intersect at 90 degrees. That's what that little upside down T means. You'll see that a lot in geometry next year. All right, so perpendicular means you write opposite and flip, and that's how you find the slope if you know one of them. So let's go find some slope problems. A lot of these are things we've been doing, but we just want to do a quick overview before we get too far into our review, when you'll just be working these on your own. All right, so this one, again, I go to the question. Excuse me. I was outside and the allergies are kicking up again. Okay, so what is the rate of change? So as soon as you see, I always, again, start with the question at the end so I know what I'm looking for. They just want me to find rate of change. So there's no picture, I don't see any equation, but they do give me 2 points. And if you read it, they say the line goes through these 2 points. And so all I want to do is find the rate of change of that. So that's slope of the line that goes through those 2 points. So as soon as I see slope and I see 2 points, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to go do this thing right here, y minus y over x minus x. Now remember, I always tell you put parentheses where the y's are and put parentheses where the x's are, and then drop those numbers inside. So when you set it up, you can see the subtraction between the two, and then I've got parentheses where I'm going to drop the numbers. That way, if they're negative numbers, they don't get lost with the subtraction signs. Now, the 2 y numbers, you can start with this one or you can start with this one, but if you start with whichever one you start with, do the same thing on the second one. So if I'm going to start with the first point they gave me, the y is a 2, and the second one, it's a -1. So remember, the y's are the second numbers in the ordered pair. It's x and then y, x and then y. So I started with the 2. So since I started with the 2, I'm going to start with that same x. 1 and a +5. Now, you can just go to the add subtract screen in the calculator, do control divide, make one big fraction, and just type this whole top in, type the whole bottom in, hit enter, and it will do it all in one fell swoop. So you don't have to worry about doing anything piecemeal. And it's going to tell you the slope is a -3/4. And so that was the +3/4. This is a -3/4 on that one. I know this is a little bit blurry on the worksheet. So go to the question at the end. What is the rate of change? And of course, rate of change is slope. Did they give you 2 points? They did. So we just want to know the slope of the line that goes through those 2 points. Same thing again, right? Y minus y over x minus x. Make your parentheses. I know sometimes y'all want to just type it straight into the calculator. And if you're really careful, you can do that. But a lot of times we make mistakes when we do that. So if you tend to make mistakes putting it straight into the calculator, copy it down on your paper. So x is first, y is second. I want the y's on top, and double check that because sometimes y'all will forget and put the x's on top. So look at this to remind yourself, yes, y's are going on top. Now, these are not your easy 30 because you have to use that formula and plug it in carefully. But they are some of the middle ones that will get you into the B's. So make sure that you can do these on STAAR Test. You don't want to miss these relatively easy questions, although there's a little bit of meat to it. So y's go on top. -3 is my y number, and -1 is the y number. See how I put those inside the parentheses? That way I don't lose the negative signs. The x numbers go on bottom, -15. And my other one's a -7. I think that's a -7. It looks like a 7. Oh, is it a 2? No, it's a 7. Okay. And then just go put that whole thing in the calculator and hit enter, and the calculator will tell you it's 1/4. Okay? So my suggestion is go work a few problems and see how you do. If you get stuck, come back. Now, as you work a few run the video and then check your answers and pause it and then work a few more and then run the video and check it. That way you don't get too far ahead. You can just check your answers as you're going, because you want to know if you're getting them right and you want to know if you're missing them. If you're missing them, you want to get that corrected before the STAR test, all right? We just have a couple of weeks to fix any mistakes we're making. So again, the question is find the rate of change. Now, it didn't just say rate of change, though. If you read this carefully, it says, which of the following linear functions has the greatest positive rate of change, right? So they didn't ask me for just what's the slope of one. They asked me which one of these has the greatest positive change. So are we interested in the negative rates? No. If it has a negative slope, I'm going to cross it off. I just want to know if it's positive. And if it's positive, greatest means biggest. So if one has a slope of 3 and one has a slope of 5, which one is the biggest? The greatest one would be a 5. So I'm looking for the positive slopes only, and which one is the biggest. So notice this one's not in y equals format. This one is. This one has a slope of 3/4, and it is positive, so I'm going to keep it. Not in y equals, not in y equals. So these three, I cannot see the slope. So in order to find slope, what are you going to have to do? Solve for y. So 3 times you have to solve for y. So on your scratch paper, you would say, okay, I'm going to subtract 15x on both sides, which means this is minus 15x, right? And now it's in y equals, because this is now gone. I subtract 15x on this side, I subtract it on this side. So y equals negative 15x plus 15. Y is by itself, so that is my slope. Is that a negative number? It is. I don't want it. I only want the biggest positive one. Now this one, if you had more room, you could do it better, but here's my 10y, and here's the x. I'm going to get rid of the x first, subtract 20x on both sides, so this is now 20x on this side, right? And that's now gone. I subtracted 20x. So now I'm going to come back and divide by 10. And when I divide by 10, this is going to go way over here. Now it's y equals, but I need to divide this one also by 10. I don't care about the y-intercept, but you would divide it by 10. But I'm just focused on the x number. Negative 20 over positive 10 in the calculator. What does that give you? Put it in the calculator. It gives you a negative slope number. Do I want the negatives? No, get rid of that one. So far, I only have one positive. So I got one more to go, solving for y. Get rid of the 5x by adding 5x. Does that give me a positive 5x over here? It does indeed. And that's gone. And then I'm going to divide by 10, right? And when I divide both pieces by 10, the only thing I'm interested in is the slope number. And yes, I would divide the y-intercept by 10 also, but I'm just focused on the slope. And 5 divided by 10 is 1/2 x, right? So my slope on this one is a positive 1/2. So positive and positive, but which one is bigger, 1/2 or 3/4? If you're not sure, you could change them both to decimals. This number in decimal form is 0.75. This one is 0.5. Which one is a bigger number? Would you want 75 cents or 50 cents? You're right, I want the 75 cents. So B is bigger. There we go. So that's what they mean by that. That's an interesting way that they worded this. They wanted to see if you know how to find slope by solving for y, and then they wanted to see if you could figure out what they were meaning by the greatest positive. Okay, so that's just an interesting way they sometimes do these questions. Now, this is another interesting one. For the linear function, I'm looking for what is the rate of change, right? So I'm looking for slope. I know I'm looking for slope, and I'm thinking, okay, they're going to give me an equation. They're going to give me 2 points, but I don't see an equation. I don't see 2 points. So now I got to go kind of read it a little more carefully. And there's no picture. So it says for the linear function f of x, x changes by 12 when f of x changes by 3. Now remember, we're looking for slope. And on the reference sheet, slope is y minus y over x minus x. This is literally the change in y. What did they change by? When you subtract them, you're finding the difference in them. So how much did the y's change when the x's changed? Did they literally tell you the x changes by 12? Do I put the x change on top or on bottom? The x's are on bottom. So this is literally 12 on bottom. The x's changed by 12. They did the subtraction for you and told you they changed by 12. Interesting, y'all. Now, and then they also said the f of x changes by 3. What does f of x represent? F of x is your y. So the y's go where? On top. So my y changed, f of x changes by 3. So if I subtract my two y numbers, what number did they say you get? 3. So this is my slope, 3 over 12. Put that in the calculator, reduce it down, and it's a positive, and yes, it reduces down to positive 1/4. So interesting way they can ask these questions. So these are more challenging ones. These are not just the straightforward slope. So there can be easy slope questions, there can be harder slope questions. So again, going to the end, what is the rate of change? So we're just looking for slope. That's all they're asking for is just slope. And they just say y with respect to x. That's just how they tell you the y's and x's are in the information here. So do they give you Don't look there. They gave me 2 points, right? I was looking for an equation or looking for something, and here's my 2 points. So all I'm going to do is my formula y minus y over x minus x, right? Drop in your y numbers on top, drop in the x numbers on bottom. I'm going to start with the left one and go left to right both times, so 20 and 32 is on top. And then the x's go on bottom, that's a 3 and a 5. And then literally just go put it in the calculator, go plug it in, see what you get on that one. Now, if you have not done some of these on your own, pause the video and go do a few problems, and then come back and check your answers. And then pause the video, work a few more, and check your answers. That's the best way to get ready for the STAR test. Y'all are in great shape. I just want you to get a couple more problems and look for ways that you cannot make careless mistakes, right? Okay, so again, the question is, what is the rate of change? And they did not give me an equation. They did not give me points independently, but they did give me a table. So they gave me a bunch of points. Here's an x and a y of 1 point. Here's an x and a y for another point. X and y of a third point, x and y of a fourth point. To use my little formula, I only need 2 points, right? So pick any 2 points you want. You could use the first one and the last one. You could use the 2 middle ones. You could use the 2 end ones. I tried to avoid the negative ones if I have my choice. But again, you can use any 2 points you want to. I'm going to use the 2 end ones over here. And again, you could use any 2 points you want. That'll all give you the same answer. So if I'm using, remember the y's are going to go on top, even though the y's are on bottom on the table. This is 50 and 68. So 50 and 68 go there. And then my x numbers 10 and 20 go down below. And just go to the add subtract screen, big control divide, type in the whole top and bottom, hit enter. And yes, this gave you a fraction of 9/5. But were my answers in fractions? No. So it's either a 5, and this is supposed to be 1.8, or 9, or it's not here. So if you take 9.5 and do control enter, it is actually equal to 1.8. So which one is it? That one right there. So be able to take your fractions and change them to decimals by doing control enter. All right, here's another one. What is the rate of change? Another way of writing slope, right? And that's all I say is just find the rate of change. And look, they gave you an equation. But the equation is not in y equals, is it? So what do we need to do in order to be able to see the slope? We need to solve for y. That's why we practice that. And again, there's probably going to be at least anywhere from 4 to 6 questions on the test where you need to solve for y. And so these get you some of the questions that bump you up into the B's and the A's. They're not part of the easy 30. There will be 30 easy questions besides this one. Okay, these are the medium ones. These are the ones that get you up into B's and A's. So, solving for y, get rid of the x's first. And I know you guys are getting really good at this. You bring down the negative 3y. Don't forget that negative sign. You're very seldom forgetting the negative sign anymore. And then rewrite. You know to rewrite this. And then divide both pieces by that negative 3. And then put your fractions in the calculator and let the calculator do the reduction for you. If you put negative 2 over negative 3 in the calculator, it tells you 2/3, and that's your slope number in front of the x. And then 6 divided by negative 3 is a negative 2. I don't care about this piece. That's my y-intercept. I just want the slope number. And that matches there. Okay, same thing here. What's the rate of change? Slope. So again, I can do my y minus y over x minus x and go put it in this little formula. Whoops, where'd my formula go? I know I've got one up here. There you go. The y minus y over x minus x, right? Remember, the y's are these numbers and the x's are those on top. So again, pick any 2 numbers you want and go plug it in. Now, where do they come up with the words over here? Well, remember the y's, right, are on top. And so when you get this answer, it winds up being 275, which is like 275 over 1. You go up 275 and over 1. Up, way up 275 and then over 1. Way up 275 over 1. So if you put the units with this, the y numbers are on top. What are the y numbers representing? F of x is the feet in altitude, so how high it's going in the air, and x is the number of minutes, right? So this is literally 275 feet, because that's what I'm measuring on the y-axis, and I'm measuring minutes on the x-axis. So I'm going up 275 feet each minute. 275 feet per minute. You're literally just putting, when they ask you to interpret the slope, you just add the units with it. Okay? You didn't have to know that for this one. You just wanted the number, and that's the only one that matched the number. Okay? Now, had they had a second answer with 275, but they said minutes per feet, you would not pick the minutes per feet because it was feet were on the y's and minutes were on the x's. So you wanted to make sure you had that. But since they only had one answer, that was a pretty much easy version of that. Again, rate of slope, or rate of change, so that's my slope. And they give you the equation, so just solve it for y. And I think this is supposed to, yeah, that's minus 6y. So we're just going to solve that for y. 2x minus 6y equals 3. And I know you're getting really good at this. If you have not done it on your own, pause the video and go do it yourself, and then check your answer. Because you need to be practicing these so you can do them easily and confidently on STAR test day. And I know most of y'all are doing a great job doing this, but if you haven't been, if you're one of the people who have not been doing it, you need to start doing them on your own so you can be able to do this on your own on STAAR Test Day. Okay? So that's gone. Y is equal to, and then put this fraction in the calculator, -2 over -6. The calculator says it's equal to 1/3. So it's a positive slope of 1/3, up 1 over 3, up 1 over 3. And this becomes a -1/2. So that's my slope number, and 1/3 is this one right there. Okay. Slope. Now with these pictures sometimes, you don't even have to see the number sometimes other than you just needed to know that they're counting by ones. And so I kind of looked at the picture and it's 1, 2, 3. I know they're teeny tiny. But again, we're looking for the slope. First of all, is this line a positive slope or a negative slope? It's going up from left to right, so it's positive. Get rid of all the negative answers so you don't accidentally pick one of those. Now, the only two choices is up 2 over 3 or up 3 over 2. So you could literally go from this pretty point here. If I go up 2 over 3, if I go up 1, 2, and over 1, 2, 3, I'm out here. And that doesn't look like it's on the line, does it? So let's try up 3 over 2. Here's a pretty point. Go up 3, 1, 2, 3, and over 2, 1, 2. Looky there, I'm right there on the line. So sometimes you can just do the answers and just count up and over and see which one's on the line. Okay, let's do the same thing on this one. So again, they give you blah, blah, blah information, but the question is what's the rate of change, which is slope. So here's my y numbers, here's my x numbers. And so here's a pretty point, and there's a pretty point, but I can just use those numbers. So this is a positive slope, but all four were positive, so that didn't help me out. But this is up 5 over 1. This is up 8 over 1. So I'm going to try those first. It's starting here at 0, 0. So if I literally go up 5 and over 1, am I on the line? No, because there's 1. I go up 5 and over 1, I'm right here, and there's nowhere near this line, is it? So it's not 5. Up 8 over 1. If I go up 8 and over 1, am I on the line? No, nowhere close to it. Up 8 and over 5. So if I go up to 8 and over 5, hey, that looks like I'm on the line. This is up 5 over 8. If I go up 5 and over 8, that puts me way over here. So not it. What was the one that was matched it? Up 8 over 5. Yeah, that was the one that matched. I can double check that. So sometimes you can just use their answers and count the up and over and see if you're on the line. Sometimes that's easier than trying to, subtract from here to here. How much did I go up? How much did I go over? Okay. This is just some other stuff. They wouldn't ask them like this on the STAAR test, other than they may ask for an interpretation, and then they give you some different interpretations of the slope. But the actual slope is find some pretty points. So here's a pretty point, and there's a pretty point. And actually, there's a couple different ones that are pretty points. There's a pretty point here too. But let's say I'm going from here to here. So I'm going to go up from 6 to 12. I go up 6 units. Because if you subtract these two numbers, 12 minus 6 is 6. So from 6 to 12, I went up 6 units. And then I went over from 0 to 2. So up 6 over 2. So remember, you have to use their numbers if they're not counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And they are not counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They're counting 6, 12, 18. So up 6 over 2. So if I put 6 over 2 in the calculator, it's the change in y over the change in x. It says it's equal to 3. And you can do 3 over 1 or just 3. The y-intercept is 6. If they were to ask you to write the equation, it is y equals, not that they asked to, but it's 3x plus 6, right? Now, when you interpret the slope, it helps to leave it as a fraction. You're literally going to put the units with the y's and the units with the x's. What are we measuring on the y's? We're measuring dollars. So this is literally $3 per, because this fraction line is per. It's kind of like miles per hour. This is my dollars per 1. And what am I measuring on the x's? Passes. So $3 per pass is what this slope interprets. I'm paying $3 for every pass. If I buy 2 passes, I'm paying $6. If I'm buying 3 passes, I'm paying $9. But it's literally $3 per pass is what your slope is telling you. It's the rate that you're paying for the passes. So $3 per, so if I go up 3 and over 1, I'm on the line. Up 3 over 1, I'm on the line. Up 3 over 1. But anyway, when you interpret, you just put the units with the numbers. So 3 over 1, $3 per 1 pass. So whatever it is on the y's, you write that down with the y's and put the passes on with the x's. It could be temperature per, because it could be degrees in temperature per minute, whatever it is. So, or miles per hours. So that's all the interpretation is. They make it sound like it's really hard, but it's not. Okay, really quick on the backside. These are not hard. This is a vertical line, okay? This is a horizontal line. This looks like the horizon, where the ocean meets the sky, right? Horizon. So this is my horizontal line. And this one is the vertical line. So anytime you're looking for slope or what the equation starts with of a horizontal or vertical line, you want to remember our little shortcut. Vertical is vux, V-U-X. Horizontal lines is hoy, H-O-Y. Okay? So H for horizontal. The equation of all horizontal lines starts with y equals a number, and the slope is 0. Vertical lines, the equation starts with x equals a number, and the slope is undefined. So let's see what they're asking me to find. What is the slope? So since it's a vertical line, you wrote vux, it's u, it's undefined. You could also do the little song 0, positive, undefined, negative, 0, positive, undefined, negative, and do that little arm movement with it. Let's see, here's the horizontal, and so again, on this one they're asking for the slope, and the slope of all horizontal lines is going to be 0. There we go. Parallel and perpendicular, we talked about this on the other side. These are going to be the same slopes, right? So, do I know the slope of this line? It's not in y equals format, is it? But we can subtract 2x on both sides. And again, if you have not done some of these on your own, pause the video and go do these. This is y equals negative 2x, and then check your answers. So my slope is a negative 2. Do I want the same slope? Yes, because my line is parallel. So I want the slope of the line parallel to this one. So this is my slope, negative 2, so mine is also negative 2. Again, looking for slope, but this time my line is perpendicular to this line. So mine's going to be the opposite sign and flipped. So, can I look at this equation and see the slope? Bummer, no. So we have to solve for y. Y'all should be getting really good at this. And then divide by 4 on both sides. And really, I don't care about the y-intercept number. You can do it if you want to, but I really want this number. And this number is negative 1/2 x. That's my slope number. But do I want the same thing? No, it is perpendicular, so be careful because you will have negative 1/2 as one of your answers here. So don't just immediately say, oh, there it is, and go pick it. Double check, what am I looking for, the same or perpendicular? So I need to change it. Instead of being negative, it's going to be positive. Instead of 1 over 2, it's 2 over 1, which is just 2. So there it is right there, A. So be careful about those. As soon as you get that number, check to see, am I looking for the same one or the opposite? Okay, opposite and flipped. Find the slope again of a parallel. So this will be same. I make myself a note that that's what I'm looking for is the same. Oh, look, is this one in y equals format? Yeah, so my slope will be the same, negative 5. I'll look to see, same, yes. This one's slope, but perpendicular, so it's going to be opposite and flip. Is it in y equals format? It is. Do I want the same? No, I don't. I want it to be opposite, and I want to take 2 over 1 and flip it. So now it's negative 1/2. There we go. Last two on here. I'm reading, because I go for the question at the end, but it says, what would the loan have been if the interest was $11 instead? That doesn't help me any. It's not one of my vocab words. It's not, the easy stuff. So I go back and read it. The amount of interest owed on a fixed rate loan varies directly. As soon as you see those words, you should be smiling and going ding, 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 and seeing butterflies flying around your head. This is a proportion where a fraction equals a fraction. They're going to give you 3 numbers, and you're going to solve for the last one using the butterfly method. The first 2 numbers they give you make the first fraction. So $9 goes with $27. Now, this one was interest. I'm going to put I there, and this was the loan, so I'm going to put L there. So second fraction, I need to put interest on top and loan on bottom. What would the loan have been if the interest is $11? So they gave me the interest, so that's going to go on top. That should be it. It's not going to look like an I, but pretend that's an I. And that means I'm solving for the loan. What is the loan? So do your butterfly. These 2 loop together, those 2 loop together. And that makes this lovely x to remind you you're multiplying. So 9 times x is equal to 11 times 27. Now, to solve for x, that's the goal, is to find out what x is. Divide by 9, and then this whole side gets divided by 9. So if you do 11 times 27 in the calculator, divide by 9, it should be one of the numbers over there. So as long as you set these up right and type everything into the calculator right, it should work. And I do believe this one was $33. Yes, it was. Okay? Do the last one. If you have not done it yourself already, go do it and then come check your answer. Okay, again, I went to the end, looked for the question, but it says, to Brendan Dry, when I'm looking for the question, how far did he go? Well, that didn't help me, so I go read it. The distance one travels varies directly. There's those fancy words again that make me go ding, 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 butterflies flying around. Fraction equals a fraction. First 2 numbers make your first fraction. So it said my very first 2 numbers are 5 hours, 40 miles. It does not matter which one you put on top or bottom, just make a note that you put hours on top and miles on bottom. So then we read to say the third number is hours. So 9 needs to go on top to match my hours, and that means I have my unknown miles. They want to know how far he went. So loop them up. And remember, this times this, 9 times 40 is equal to this times this. And to solve for x, we need to divide by 5. You do it to one side, do it to the other side. So x is equal to this math. Go plug it in the calculator, see what you get, and hopefully you got B. That is it for today's review. Tomorrow we're going to review exponents and all those exponent rules, and I think, I can't remember, I think maybe we're going to do some sequences tomorrow. But definitely some, oh wait, we did the exponents today. We're going to do, I'm sorry, I can't remember, I can't think straight what we're doing on Friday. I know we're going to do some, we're going to do a bunch of mixed review of the stuff we've been doing and also do sequences. So we're going to add in sequences for sure. And so make sure you come in back tomorrow and do the review so that we can cover all the little things and do some good mixed review and see if you can remember what to do when you see a problem. Okay, see y'all tomorrow.